Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, then welcome. My name is Christina and today we're talking about a bunch of brand new releases that I've been testing out in the course of the last couple of weeks or so. I really considered doing a first impressions type of video for you guys, but honestly, there are so many launches and I'm predicting so many more coming up with the holidays that I kind of felt like the most applicable video for you guys would just be like, what do I think? Is it worth it? Okay, cool. So that's what we're doing today. I am splitting this video into two different videos. So today we're talking about everything that is not complexion based, and then we're going to be talking about everything complexion based. So that's all the brand new foundations, all the brand new powders, all the brand new setting sprays. I have been doing some ample wear testing and different makeup combinations for you. That's the reason why that one is going to be split into its own thing. So if you guys are interested in seeing that one, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. And as always, you guys, I'm going to be linking everything down below for you, as well as in the YouTube shopping tab. Whenever you guys use either the YouTube shopping tab or my links, I do get a little commission, so I do appreciate when you guys use them. Now let's talk about a brow product. This is the new ABH Anastasia brow pen. I got this one in the shade Ebony, and you guys have probably seen this everywhere, and I was especially excited about this one because of that micro brush. They are little bristles here, but it is so incredibly thin, and the most exciting thing about this, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly to you guys, is that it has a spoolie on this side. Every time I do my brows, especially with the brow pen, I have to use a spoolie to kind of brush everything out, make sure everything is looking even. So I've always wondered why brands don't put a spoolie on the other side, and Anastasia did that for us, and I love it. It's this small spoolie, very, very soft, so it's easy to use and it doesn't get all over the place, which is important because when you're working with an ink pen, it can get a little bit messier than if you're brushing out a waxy pencil. Okay, so for our application clips here, I did test this out two different ways. One side I did with the brow gel, one side I had nothing in. When I first applied it without the brow gel, I did find that it was a little bit easier for the ink to kind of glide onto my skin, and the side with the brow gel, it kind of would skip a little bit, but not terribly. I've used other brow pens that do skip really badly, and it just like is not workable with brow gel in it. You can still use some brow gel, but it will take a little bit more effort, a little bit more of the brush laying flat and not just the point. That's definitely the best way I found to apply it if you already have gel in your brows. And when I fill in my brows with the gel side, I found that I wasn't using as much product because I really was just filling in all of the areas that were looking sparse because my brows were already shaped, versus the side without any brow gel. I was kind of guessing what the shape was going to be and kind of moving and brushing my brows around. So really it's your preference. It works well either way. I have been more in the habit of doing brow gel and then using this one, but I will go in with a little bit of brow gel just to shape it, and then after I apply the pen, then I'll go in and fully set the brows with gel. The color, I really like it. I like that it matches really well with my brows without making them super, super dark. I can't use a dark brunette because usually those are very obviously brown against my black brows. So I appreciate that this one is a little bit more like a cooler black, if that makes sense. And I think what helps a lot is that that brush is very thin, so I'm not getting like a Sharpie marker on my brows. As far as control, I found that it was really easy to get thin strokes and have a lot of control with it, especially since it's that smaller brush. And the ink was coming out of the well very, very evenly, so you didn't have to worry about laying this on the skin and then getting like a blob of ink. And I do want to note that with all brow pens, I find that personally, I have to push pretty hard on my brows since I do have thicker brow hairs, and I had to do that with this one too. But again, because this was coming out really evenly, I didn't really have an issue with that. I feel like if someone has more sparse brows and they're really relying on a brow pen to make more natural hair-like strokes, then they will probably be pickier than I am. But I have heard from a lot of people with different types of brows that this has been kind of like a game-changing brow pen for them. Next, a drugstore option here. These took the internet by storm, as most of the NYX launches do. This is the new NYX Lip Lingerie lip stain pens, and they're going to be essentially this felt tip with a ball on the end of it, and it's going to be something that you can line your lips with, and it comes out like an inky stain, stays all day, or that's what they claim. And they come in a lot of different colors. I don't have all of the colors. I have most of them though. I did kind of pull most of the neutral shades and the deeper ones that I thought that I would usually wear. As far as lip pen stains go, this is a very, very solid option in my opinion. If you missed my short video where I was doing my first impression, I'll link that one down below. I have been testing these for a couple of weeks now, and I've been doing wear tests and what have you, and they are very, very good. I would suggest going in sections, especially if you're someone like me who likes to still kind of diffuse the ink and make it look a little bit more like a natural gradient on the lips. So if you are someone that likes to do that, you're going to want to make sure that you get an even layer of staining all over the lips, because sometimes if you go in and you draw your lip line and you find that some areas look like they need a little bit more pigmentation, if you add pigmentation there, then it might end up looking a bit darker than the rest of your lips. So be very careful to make sure that you're applying even layers of stain throughout your lip lines. It's a bit harder to get even application on your entire lip if you're not doing everything in one fell swoop. As far as the colors go, like I mentioned, they did come out with a lot of neutral shades, which I think was one of the biggest selling points, and NYX really delivered with that. They went from very light nudes to very deep nudes, and I think that a lot of people really appreciated that. When swatched on the arms, I would say that these look pretty true to what the outside looks like, as well as what the color looks like online. But when I apply it to my lips, considering the fact that I don't have super pigmented lips, they still do pull a little bit more pinky red. Like they all get a little tinge of either pink or red on my lips, but that's not to say that they completely turn into a pink lip liner or a red lip liner. But I did want to note that in case you typically experience something similar to what I do. I would still consider these neutral shades on me though, but I would say that they're like pinky brown or reddish brown, you know. These last incredibly long on the lips. They have lasted 10 plus, 12 plus hours on me. I will reapply my lip product, like if I'm wearing a lipstick or a lip gloss on top, that will eventually fade, and then the lip liner stain is going to still be there. Sometimes I'll go through multiple lip gloss colors or lipstick colors if I'm testing out a bunch of different things that day, and I will still have these on my lips. They last incredibly long. You can also apply this all over your lips, obviously, as an actual lip color, and then top that with whatever you want to. And if you do apply this all over your lips, they apply very evenly because you can use the entire length of that felt tip and just kind of do a little swipe right there. The ball tip is fun, it's nice, and it seems innovative, but if I'm being completely honest, it doesn't really do that much for me. I don't really think that is the game-changing thing about these for me. What's the most game-changing for me are the colors and how long they last. So I did pick up a couple of things from the Hung Vanngo makeup line. Hung Vanngo is a celebrity makeup artist. He's very well known for doing Selena Gomez's makeup, and he recently came out with his own makeup line at Sephora. I mean, first of all, the packaging, beautiful. I'm sure you guys have seen it. I'm sure it's caught your eye. So many people have been talking about it, and I don't think I have anything novel to say, but I still do want to share my experiences with you guys in case you are interested. Let's start off with the eyeliners. He did come out with two different formulas when it comes to the eyeliners. He came out with a kohl and then these retractable long-lasting eyeliners. I only got the longwear eyeliners. I got the shade Soften the Edge, which is a deep brown, and then the shade Along the Lash Line, which is this really deep inky black. These are incredibly pigmented, and when you swatch them out, they are super creamy. They apply so smoothly, and when you first apply it, you have the option to blend it out before it sets down completely. I like to go in with the brown and kind of create a wing, and then go in with a separate eyeliner brush to fully wing out that eyeliner, and then that will last me all day. I'm really loving how rich and dark this brown is, and I also tried the black one on my tight line, so on my upper lash line right there. I do like to tightline more often than not because I feel like it makes the lash line look a lot thicker, and this applied so well. It glided on to that tight line without tugging. Sometimes eyeliners can tug and feel a little uncomfortable, or you have to go in with a couple of swipes. This one, I just did one swipe and it completely inked up that tight line. I loved the way that it looked. It was very comfortable to apply, but unfortunately, as I wore this, I think even as I was doing my makeup that day, this did transfer down into my waterline. It didn't dry down the same way it does on the actual eyelid, so I don't know what that would look like if you typically wear pencil eyeliner on your bottom waterline. I don't usually do that, but I know a big issue for a lot of people that do that is that it'll transfer on the lower eyelid. So I have a feeling that might be the case with this one, so you might want to be a little bit careful, which is interesting because when this is actually swatched on the arm, or again, like I said, on the eyelid, it really does stay put. I will continue using these for my wing liner though, because I think that it looks so beautiful, and again, because it's so creamy, it's really easy to work with. As far as the eyeshadow goes, he did come out, I think, with 8 different palettes, and they all have different color themes, and I did just pick up the wonderful warm palette here. This is going to be the neutral browns, and you guys know I typically gravitate towards more warm tones, and as you can see, it's just an array of different browns and some champagnes and golds. A really beautiful, very beginner friendly eyeshadow palette. I was so excited to use this. This was actually probably the most exciting thing that I picked up from the makeup line, and as I was applying this, it's very, very easy to blend in. It's not super punchy pigmentation, so you're not going to get a lot of pigmentation right off the bat. It almost gives you this wash of color that you can kind of build on top, which is the reason why I feel like this is very beginner friendly. The formulation itself reminds me a lot of the Surratt eyeshadows, like the Surratt Beyond Beige Quad that I always talk about. The eyeshadow formulation of this is very similar, but I will say less pigmented. It's similar to me in the way that you can build it up and it never looks like too much. You can really, really play with these colors without feeling like, oh my gosh, I need to wipe this off. That was like too much pigmentation at one time. Honestly, quite the opposite. Sometimes with like the lighter shades, maybe even like some of these browns that I was playing with, I tried to play with as many of these colors as I could. I almost felt like I could over blend these, if that makes sense. Like there wasn't enough significant difference between the different shades. And I know that sounds a little silly because typically you want your eyeshadows all to blend in and look really seamless, but because of that less pigmentation and very easy blendability, it almost felt like I had to work a little bit harder to build something up that would look really impactful on the eyes. But that's not to say that the formulation isn't good. I still feel that this is very easy to work with. But if you're looking for something that's going to give you a ton of pigment and you can do really crazy eye looks with, at least with this specific color story, the warm tone palette, it's going to be, I don't think that's going to be what this is going to give you. But yeah, I think that knowing that it's just going to give you a whisper or like a wash of color is really important for you guys to know. So overall, it's not exactly what I expected. I was kind of hoping that this would be a little bit more punchy, but I'm not mad at it. And I think that this is going to be a really good staple of an eyeshadow palette. And I think it's going to serve as a really good base for other eyeshadows, like maybe something that's more glittery or something that is more punchy or metallic. This would serve as a good way to start off to kind of tie the looks together. I think it's important to reiterate that with the Hung Vanngo line, I've heard people say this and I kind of agree now that I've had some time to kind of play with the products. There's nothing that he has come out with the first launch that I would necessarily say is an innovation. I think his approach really was coming from a world of professional makeup artistry and playing with thousands probably of different makeup products and trying to find the things that worked really well, was kind of foolproof, and was universally flattering. That's kind of what his approach was. He wanted to come out with really good quality makeup that he finds works for pretty much any time he needs them to. So I think that this kind of falls into that category as well. The last product I got within the makeup line is going to be this soft blurring bronzer in the shade Hard hardworking. There's a lot of product in this, I will say. I really like the shade. It is a little bit darker than what I normally like. I've learned that usually with bronzers, I just tend to try to get deeper tones, but the bronzers that work the best for me are the ones that I think are too light, if that makes sense. This one online I thought would be the perfect tone, but when I got it and I swatched it, I was like, ooh, I think it's gonna be a little bit dark. But I really like it. I'll get into why I think this works now for me, but I think that it is a nice neutral brown tone. It's not too red, it's not too orange, it's not too gray. It really is just that neutral undertone that really works on my complexion. So the texture of this is extremely soft. I have in my notes that this is like thin butter. If you rub this between your fingertips, it feels very smooth. This has a very large pigment load, so it has been a little bit of a learning curve for me because this is more pigmentation than what I'm used to with a lot of the bronzers that I'm currently using. But the really interesting thing about this is even though it has an extremely large pigment load, it's super easy to blend. This blends into the skin like nothing else that I've tried. You guys know that I'm very picky when it comes to my powder bronzers because more often than not, they kind of skip and they don't sit very well on my cheeks. I just don't have the most even skin texture, I guess, on my cheeks, and it always messes up my bronzer, but this one just glides on like nobody's business. It looks so good. It blows me away. If there's anything that I could change about this, I wish in general with the actual shade range, I wish there was a shade between this one and the shade lighter than it because I feel like that would be my perfect shade, but I still really like this one. I have been reaching for this nonstop, not only because I've been testing it to give you guys my thoughts, but because it just has been such a pleasure to work with. This has definitely been my standout product from the line. Next is the Haus Labs contour stick. This is the shaping stick. I have the shade Silhouette. Now this one is a lot smaller than what I anticipated. I kind of thought that it was going to be the same size as the Haus Labs blushes, but it's not. It's a lot skinnier than those are, which I think is okay in terms of this being a contour because typically you're gonna use a lot less contour than you do like a blush all over your cheeks or even a bronzer all over your cheeks and your face. I think this is really interesting and it's something that I keep thinking about when it comes to Haus Labs. So Haus Labs, they seem to give you a realistic amount of product in proportion to the pigmentation levels that you need. So in saying that, a lot of their complexion products are going to be more pigmented. So I think them knowing that, they know that you're going to go in with a smaller amount, so you're just going to need a smaller amount before it goes bad, yada yada. I think it just goes into that whole thing of Haus Labs being very mindful about the products that they put out. Now in terms of consumers, I feel like looking at this and the size of it and the price of it, people are probably like, it's not worth it. But realistically, you guys, if we're thinking about how often we finish up a stick, like cream stick, it's not very often, and more often than not I feel like they go bad. So I don't know, that's just something to think of, and that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately with them. So like I mentioned, I did get the shade Silhouette, and even though this color once applied onto the skin looks very deep, it actually blends into a more natural contour, although I will say it's still a little bit deeper than most contours that seem to be geared towards my complexion. I would say that this could be a good bronzer, like a bronze contour hybrid, because it does lean more neutral deep brown versus being something that's a little bit more grayish. That's probably another reason why I kind of wish this was a little bit bigger, because I can use it as my bronzer and my contour. So I feel like whenever I'm using this, I use a lot of it. I find that you can draw it all over and then blend it out without having to worry about this drying down and creating streaks on the face. But with saying that, I feel like this almost blends away. Like when I apply it, I tried it on the back of my hand, I tried it straight on my face, I tried using my brush straight on the stick, and I found that because it feels like it blends so seamlessly, to get the most pigmentation load, I have to put it straight on my face. I feel like it blends almost too easily, so you have to kind of pack this on, which I think is kind of concerning since it's such a small amount of product again. I don't know. I'm on the fence about this, right? Because this is going to be such a natural contour, like almost an undetectable contour when you blend this in. But then I also question, is it just disappearing? Am I blending it completely away, or is it just that natural? I've gone back and forth on this the last like month or so that I've been testing this, and I don't know. I really don't know. I think it looks really beautiful. I just can't blend it as much as I usually would with my normal contours, which again, if you guys have had issues with past cream contours that you think are just too hard to work with, I think this may be a good solution for that. And I will say that the size of this and the color of this is absolutely perfect to contour my nose, under my lips, and my temple and my jawline. So if you're looking for a natural contour, which is sometimes hard to find, then you may like this one. Next, we have the Glossier Cloud Paint Plush Blush. I can't say that. That is such a tongue twister for me. But I have the shade Burst right here, and I was so excited about this. In a recent video where I was talking about some new Glossier launches, I was saying that Glossier, I was feeling like they just, maybe I'm not their target audience because a lot of their launches just were not interesting to me. They weren't appealing to me. I was kind of over it, but this one got me. I was so excited for this one, and it did not disappoint me. So first of all, I am obsessed with this texture. As you can see, I like pushed down on this to really feel the texture. I really thought that it was going to be the same exact thing as the Rare Beauty one, and in theory, it's going to be the same. It's going to be that creamy powdery blush thing going on where it's like a bouncy moussey blush, but this one feels even more like a satin powder, and it blends so well. It straight up looks like a thin powder veil on the cheeks and when it's swatched out. I think that overall I really like this format because it gives you the blendability of a cream and the buildability of a cream, but it dries down to a powder, which works a lot better on oily skin because it's going to last a lot longer. This one does not add any extra hydration on the cheeks. As you can see, you can probably tell in the pan as well, there is a little bit of this like sheen, the satin sheen going on, but it doesn't translate as looking greasy on the skin. It really just looks like a healthy flush on the cheeks. This red shade is such a nice wash of red. It looks so natural on the cheeks. I did talk about this in a trying new makeup video, but I wanted to touch on it even more because I didn't apply it in that video, and since then I have tested this even more. This is the Mob Beauty cream blush in the shade Crimson Crush. This was made in collaboration with Monica. It looks really deep and very intimidating here, but I think that it actually works so well. So this formula I would say is a drier cream product, so it's not going to be too greasy on the skin. These balm-like textures work the best when you really warm it up on your fingers or on your face. I think that that is the best way to go with these. And if you go in with a brush, you kind of want to make sure you pack that brush in and then maybe tap off the excess before going in onto your cheeks. It just gives the most beautiful red flush without being too bright on my complexion. It doesn't go purpley on me, which sometimes more mahogany or crimson red blushes can do on me. And because of the drier formula, you can really build this very slowly, which is perfect for such a deep red tone. I don't think I have anything like this in my collection, so it is a very welcome product. Next is another launch that I was very excited for. It's from Tower 28, and you guys know that Tower 28 is one of my favorite brands. This is the new, is it the GoGo eyeshadow stick? GoGo Cooling Eyeshadow Stick in the shade Troubadour. Troubadour is going to be more of this like champagne gold metallic looking thing. It looks very metallic here, but I will say when you actually blend it out onto the eyes, you can get it to look like a really beautiful sheen, a little bit more like a, say it with me guys, one and done eyeshadow. So on the eyelids, it does look more like a sheen, almost like a regular shimmer eyeshadow, and it does dry down very quickly. So you're going to want to work quick with this. Only apply it on one eye and work on that side before before moving on to the next. I do very much enjoy that cooling feeling. It gives you that very refreshing, almost minty like cooling feeling, except it's not like irritating on the eyes. It just feels cold. It's like you're applying water onto the eyes. I think that's such a nice sensorial touch. And I like to just completely swipe this onto the eyes and then blend it out with my fingers or blend it out with a brush. Typically I'll just blend it out with my fingers because I can't be fussed with the brush with a formula like this one. And I like that this applies a very thin veil of product, but it has a very big punch of pigment regardless of it being that more thin feeling. The only thing that I have found that I'm not too much of a fan of when it comes to this is that it does crease. Typically with a cream shadow like this, I like something that can kind of hold its own throughout the day. This one I do find that I have to use an eyeshadow primer with, which isn't such a big deal, but I also find that sometimes even if I do use an eyeshadow primer, it does still kind of crease like on the inside here for me. This is really great if I don't need to wear my makeup for too long. Maybe I'm just filming a quick little bit and I want to wear this because I do think it looks beautiful, but it's not going to be the product that I reach for if I need something that's super long wearing. Next, I'm wearing this today. This is the Milk Kush mascara, and this is something that they recently launched, I think along with an eyelash curler. I will say I'm very loyal to my Shrek and Shiseido eyelash curlers, so that one just wasn't really a big win for me. This mascara I actually think is a very good one from Milk. I really enjoy the way that this one looks on my lashes. So as always, I have to give you guys the caveat that with mascaras that are not waterproof or they're not Asian mascaras, I have to layer them with one of those things. So I do wear this layered with a lot of my Asian mascaras that I typically use, and I'm going to be talking about it based off of that. So this is going to be a volumizing mascara, and you can definitely tell that's what they're going for because of this really fat brush. Like, this is a fat traditional bristle brush, and these are typically intimidating for me, mainly because I do have smaller eyes, and a lot of mascaras that are shaped this way I know are a bit heavier in formulation, but this one, first, doesn't get super clumpy like other volumizing mascaras. I think that this stopper actually pulls off a lot of excess mascara, so I don't really have to go in and really brush a lot off of there. It works very well. If anything, right here on the base, it's a little bit of excess product, but all over the rest of the brush, it's more than enough without being too much. And like I mentioned, I expected this to be a heavier mascara, but once I got this on the eyes, it feels so soft. Like, if you run your fingers on your eyelashes, they feel super soft. They don't feel crunchy or like hard like other mascaras. It actually feels really nice. If I go in with too thick of a layer, it will start to droop a little bit even if I have that mascara underneath of it. So this one I find is best applied with thin layers. But the overall effect, this is so volumizing on the eyes. It makes my lashes look even darker if that's possible. I think it's mainly because it looks like I have more lashes. But the biggest con with this one, because it is not waterproof or an Asian mascara, it does seem to smudge a little bit under my eyes. Like throughout the day I will get a little bit of smudging here, and it's especially noticeable if I don't have heavier eyeshadow under my eyes. Obviously if I have like deeper eyeshadows underneath that are a little bit smoky, then you can't really tell, so it's not a big deal. And I find that maybe this mascara will be good for those days because this is more of a dramatic effect on my lashes. This is more like something I would reach for if I'm doing more of a smoky eye, and other than the smudging, it looks really good. I don't know how new this is. I'm pretty sure it's quite new to the Soshe line, but this is the Soshe Beauty eye brightener pencil, and I got the shade Champagne. This is meant for your waterline, and it is so beautiful. So this is the perfect shade for my waterline. It adds a little bit of brightness, but because of the actual pigmentation of this, it just looks like you're not wearing anything in your waterline. It looks super natural. It helps that this is kind of like a medium pigmentation, because I feel like I can kind of still see like my natural waterline, but this one like brightens everything up a little bit, so it looks more natural versus it looking like I'm wearing eyeliner on my eyes. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not going to be the first thing that you see, and I like that it is this champagne shade because any white eyeliner just looks way too stark on my eyes. Even sometimes more like bone colored eyeliners, they look too bright on me. Here it doesn't look that bright, but that's what I need against my complexion. That is exactly what I need. So this doesn't stay all day. Like if I went a 10+ hour day, it's definitely going to fade a little in my waterline, but it's not going to fade completely. Like it's not so creamy that it's going to completely disappear. It still has long lasting wear in my opinion, and more so than other brightening eyeliners that I've tried in the past. I've had it in my waterline for, what time is it? 4 hours now, and it's still looking really nice. I want to talk about a couple of eyeshadow palettes. I haven't really purchased a lot of eyeshadow palettes recently, but I did buy these, and spoiler alert, I love all of them for different reasons. So the first one, the Colourpop Shrek palette. I had no intentions of buying this, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't even know it was coming out. I just saw that it was out and I was like, wait, I kind of need that. So this is what the palette looks like. It's so fun. Like, I love it. This is such a good palette. And the color story itself is really, really good. I've been playing around a lot with different like colors on my eyeshadow lately, and green I have found is like a new obsession for me. Any type of green I've been really loving. I think it makes my brown eyes pop a lot, but it also can sometimes look a little neutral. So I was pleasantly surprised with how easy it was to create an eye look, especially something that I didn't feel like was completely out of my comfort zone. I've done a couple of eye looks with this so far, and truly none of these shades are unwearable for me. All of these are such good shades. I was really, really happy with the shimmers because I find that they're not just like one tone. They do have, some of them do have like a duochrome, a little bit of a shift. The glitters in them are a little different. They all look good. In terms of the actual formula of these, they are very dusty eyeshadows, but they're very pigmented and still very, very easy to blend. It's been quite a while since I got a Colourpop eyeshadow palette. It's just as I remember them, very dusty, very powdery, but that never really bothers me as long as it doesn't fall all over my face, which it doesn't. If you go in and then you tap off the excess and then you apply it to your eyes, it's totally fine. I also wanted to note that the shade Dewlock, this one right here, feels a bit different than all the other shades. Dewlock feels like a glitter that's kind of suspended in a balm, so I don't know how that's gonna last on your eyes if that's the only shade that you use, but I did want to note that. These are great. They're really easy to work with, very easy to work with your fingers too. Typically with shimmers, I like to just go in with my finger and it works well, but you also get some pretty good pigmentation off of these if you use a brush too. So I love this one and I think it's so fun. I love the theming of this. Oh, and the cardboard has the Beware Ogre thing. So cute. The next two eyeshadow palettes are from brands I had never tried until these palettes. So the first one is this Dede Signature Broken Jewels palette. I saw that this one was launching and it's, I mean, beautiful. Look at this. I do have to be a little careful because this one did come completely smashed. They did actually send me a replacement for that shade, which I was so incredibly grateful for. They sent me one shade out of the palette. Like, that was so nice. Dede Signature, by the way, is a small business and it is an indie brand. So if you're interested in kind of dabbling in indie makeup, I highly suggest looking into eyeshadow palettes because they have some of the most beautiful, first of all, formulations and color stories. It's just so fun. Like if you look at this one, I mean, that blue, that purple, everything is so punchy, everything is so rich as well. And the actual formulations of these are incredible. These blend super easily, but they're not the most easy ones that I've used. I would say the Colourpop one is easier to blend, but it's not going to give you as much pigment, which may be the reason why this one seemed a little bit harder to blend. But with saying that, it's not hard to blend. You're going to want to go in with a little bit of color whenever you go into these shadows, but once you go in and you're really blending at it, you can get such a beautiful diffused look. What blew me away the most with this one are the colors. I feel like each color is slightly nuanced, like they're not just something that was pulled off of a color wheel, you know. Everything seems a little bit extra something. But something about this palette, it just sparks some creativity in me. And I think overall there's a lot of shades in here that I don't currently own in my collection, and I'm really excited to have them. This just is such a pleasure to work with. I will say though, at the end of the day, when I've worn this, my eyeshadow does seem to crease a little bit, especially if I'm wearing one of the shimmers. I think that maybe some of the shimmers are packed a little bit heavy, like they're a little chunkier or thick. I find that the same thing goes with the Half Magic single eyeshadows. Those are beautiful, but for some reason they always seem to crease on me even if I use an eyeshadow primer. I think that maybe I have to play around with the amount that I actually use. Maybe it's just I'm using too much at once. I don't really know, but that's something to note if you are prone to your eyeshadow creasing. This is from Bellabeautebar in collaboration with Newport. This is the Coalescence eyeshadow palette, and you guys, this is absolutely gorgeous. So it comes with a mirror again, and this is the color story. I was a little on the fence with this one, but not for very long, okay? Because the color story itself looked a little intimidating to me. I feel like the color story is a bit more cool, not usually, you know, shades that I typically can gravitate towards on an everyday basis. They're not really something I can use without thinking about. But when I was watching Newport's video, because she's here on YouTube and she's on Instagram, I think also on TikTok, but I was watching her videos and she was swatching these out. She was kind of talking about the colors, and I was like, okay, this seems like a pretty approachable way to use colors. Again, that's kind of the way that I look at it. I need something that is very approachable. So when I saw her talking about these and I saw more people kind of putting looks together, I was like, I feel like I could do it. On top of that, I really wanted to try the Bellabeautebar eyeshadow formulation because I know Bellabeautebar is a cult classic favorite eyeshadow formulation for a lot of people, especially those who are very familiar with indie makeup, because this is an indie makeup brand. And you guys, this did not disappoint. The eyeshadow looks that I've done with these are some of my favorite to date, like of my lifetime. Some of my favorite, okay? So first of all, these are very, very pigmented and they blended really, really easily without losing too much pigmentation. I also found that I never had any skipping, even with the deeper shades. They just brushed onto my eyelids so easily and I was able to blend them out no problem. I was really surprised with how easy these formulations were to work with. The mattes just, they're lovely. They are so pigmented, so even, and the shimmers, they don't have any fallout. They honestly are nothing like what I have. And this whole palette is magnetic, by the way. That's why you see these little divots. So you can take them apart, you can put it into smaller palettes, you can mix and match, you can move it around if you wanted to. And something to note is that with the shimmers, I can use these with a brush without feeling like I want even more pigmentation. I don't think this had any fallout when I was using it, and there's very, very little dust or kick up when you put your brush in there to get the colors. It's just so good. If you guys have not tried it, I would believe all the hype if I were you. Bellabeautebar is that girl. I'm not gonna lie, I have been looking on their site trying to figure out like what I want to get next. I probably shouldn't. I probably need to calm down and just like use this. Oh, and I did get 2 of the singles. So she did come out with 4 singles in her collection as well. I got the shade Refraction and Crystallize. I got the acrylic container too because I thought this is a great way to travel with these. But here's Refraction and here's Crystallize. I'm wearing Refraction on my eyes today. And like I said, very approachable, very beautiful. Extremely happy to have this and to have these. I'm more than happy with this purchase. All right, now let's talk about a reformulation. So Patrick Ta came out with a reformulation of their highlights. I think it was last summer they came out with a highlight formulation and it did not go over well. I did purchase one of them last year, but it wasn't something that I felt like was realistic for me to wear on an everyday basis. Not really something that like fit into my makeup routine, if that makes sense. So this time around, they did send this one to me. They gave me the shade Dede, and this one does have like this pink shift on this more champagne gold shade to make this more wearable. I have used it on top of blush because of that pink shift that it has. It's super sheer when you swatch it. You almost can't even see it on camera. You can definitely see it more in person. The powder though, I will say, is noticeably more pigmented when you apply it with their brush, which by the way, I really like the brush that they came out with the highlights. I typically love Patrick Ta brushes, so that's no surprise. And I will say that this is better than before. It's still not something that I'm seeing myself reach for all the time, but I do think that the formulation itself, they have made improvements. Before there was just too much greasiness with this cream color, and it's still definitely very balmy. It still feels very slick, but it's nothing like what it was when they first launched it. This is still going to give you that kind of like editorial wet look to it, but you have some color. You actually have some color and like pigment payoff here. I do think that the highlight powder, I can actually see myself using more than that cream. So yes, this is a step up from their old formulation. Is it my favorite in terms of highlight? No, it's not. And is this something that I've been reaching for? Also no. Okay, let's talk about this PR package that I got from Mercier. So beautiful. They sent me all of the new brightening under eye setting powders. And for me, I have been using Golden, and I tried the shade Peach as well. Surprisingly, the shade Peach I find is a little bit too light. It does have pigment to it, but when I have it on my under eyes, it almost looks a little bit like too pink, I guess. So it makes it just looks weird. I don't think I look good with pink powder. I feel like it makes my skin look kind of like sickly, you know? So I did reach for Golden, very like deep yellow shade, and I was like, oh, I don't know if it's actually going to work for me, but this one works really well for me. So as you can see, once you have it blended out, it does have a little bit of that sheer yellow tone to it, but I don't notice too much of a difference with this one from their usual powders. Other than the color, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it does feel a little bit smoother, like a little bit more like flour, like baking flour, you know? Am I making that up? I don't know. It does feel a little thinner. The way that I've been using this is I'll go in and set my face a little bit with my Kosas press powder, because I find that that has been just giving me such a smooth look under my eyes, and then I'll go in with the loose powder. So I've been using this loose powder on top of it. I mean, hold on, let me put some on. Let me just make sure that my thoughts are still the same. I'll put a little under this eye. Oh, it looks a little dark with the complexion products I have. I think it made my under eyes a little yellow. Uh-oh, I shouldn't have done that. Let me add a little bit of peach. So my problem here is I kind of feel like sometimes with my under eye powders, they can emphasize my hyperpigmentation a little bit. I don't know what that's about. Like, it almost seems like it gets rid of coverage, but it doesn't. I think it just mattifies so much so that you can see what's going on under the sheen. You know what? This is actually mattifying really well. Look at the under eyes. It's actually very smooth. Okay, I take back what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it doesn't make any difference, but I think that it actually does. But would I advise you guys to run out and get it if you already have a powder that you like? Probably not. Probably not, but if you're interested in looking at different colored under eye powders, then you have this as an option. Another thing from the Shrek line from Colourpop, it's the second and last thing that I got from the line. They came out with different lip glosses, and this is the donkey one. This one is called Noble Steed. How freaking cute is that? Something that was really fun and interesting to me is that it smells like waffles, but to me it kind of just smells like maple syrup. Ooh, I got on my nose. So it's a very standard lip gloss. So if you've tried Colourpop lip glosses, it's pretty much the same thing. It has this big doe foot applicator that I think is very lovely to apply on the lips. Feels very plushy and hydrating. I don't think I have to go in with a lot to get the pigmentation that I'm looking for. It's going to be more of that sheer medium pigmentation. I will say the packaging does feel a little cheap because it does like squeak whenever you're pulling out the doe foot or tightening it back up. The product itself is really pretty. I love this because it looks like sort of like a pinky nude gloss on me. And it's slightly lighter on me without washing me out completely. Like, it's not a milky pink, but I have been kind of craving more light nudie pinks lately because I've just been wanting that little extra dimension on the lips. It's really good. Let me see if this will, when I tighten this, if you'll hear what I'm talking about. Okay, did you hear that? It's not the smoothest lip gloss, but unless you're applying this like in a library or something, I'm sure it's fine. Okay, getting towards the end, you guys, I want to talk about the brand new Lawless and LoveShackFancy lip glosses. I believe these are limited edition and they came out with 2 shades, a pink shade and a purple shade. So these are still the same texture as the usual Lawless glosses, but these do have kind of like a metallic glitter type of thing going on. And I will say that you can feel the glitter. And like I said, the shades, they're almost this metallic. Like it's not, I wasn't expecting that from this collaboration, but let me do quick swatches here. So that's Bloom Heirloom. You can see that is some crazy metallic sheen, isn't it? And then you have Happy Thoughts right here. So definitely more statement lip glosses, definitely more metallic punchy glosses if that's what you're looking for. I think that these are really fun, but they unfortunately are not going to be ones that I'm going to be reaching for every day. Okay, I have these Florasis lip glosses that they sent me. I can't find the shade that I really like. I think I have it in one of my purses or something, but these are from their Celestial Luster lip gloss collection. So if you guys haven't tried Florasis yet as a brand, highly recommend them. I feel like they're so slept on. They're a Chinese beauty brand that I think is so beautiful. You know, like the really elegant embossed makeup, like with the eyeshadow palettes and blushes and stuff and highlights. Florasis has that kind of packaging and it is unbelievably beautiful. They're so underrated. So these are new to me. These feel really soft on the lips. They almost feel like a lip oil. Is it a lip oil? It just says a lip gloss. They're unscented, but they just have such good shine. They're very thin, kind of like a veil of gloss on the lips, but again, very nice pigmentation. Like that pigmentation is there. It's still like a sheer medium like a lip gloss typically will be. Some of them do have sparkle, but I will say that it's nothing like the Lawless ones where it's like chunky glitter. The sparkle in these is almost undetectable once you get it on the lips, and if anything, they just make everything look a little bit juicier. I actually haven't tried this shade in number 4 Cherry Glaze. Very curious to see what this looks like. So pretty. I just really like these. They're so good. My favorite shade is number 3 Sunlit Apricot. These are so comfortable on the lips. Really like these. If you haven't tried them yet, highly recommend trying these as well as Florasis in general. Now, this one is gonna kind of be like a first impression because I just bought this one yesterday, but I did want to give you guys my thoughts on this. It's the new Morphe Lip Filler Hydro Plump Lipstick. I got the shade Honey. I think they came out with really nice shades and all of them have just enough of a difference where you can find the perfect shade because they have like different undertones that I feel like will work on different complexions. But this shade in Honey, it's going to be more of this nude shade, but as you can see, it does have that like peachy tone underneath of it and it's a little bit more cool. They feel very blurred and soft, like they have a very strong powder content in them. When it comes to matte blurry velvet lips like this, they do tend to have a little bit of powder in the formulation to give you that more like airbrush look on the lips, if that makes sense. This one does feel like that. It doesn't feel overly hydrating. It doesn't feel overly thick. This feels like a blurry, kind of like the Fui blurring pudding pots, except not as thick as those. I think that these would actually be very similar to the blurring pudding pots. I need to do a side-by-side of those. It's pretty much like one swipe application. And I will say that it's not the most comfortable matte. I still think that I prefer more of a liquid cream matte, like a whipped matte formulation, but it's not going to be uncomfortable like a liquid lipstick that typically dries down. I like that the packaging is color coordinated, so the color of the lipstick is going to be the outer color right here. I'm excited to continue wearing this and kind of wearing it with different lip combos and just see what we can come out with. Lastly, I do want to talk about this. It's currently out of stock, but I wanted to note it for when it does come back in stock mid-October, and it is the BK Beauty Nikki La Rose Volume 2 brush set. So they sent this one to me. I only have these here because the rest of them are currently drying because I washed them yesterday. But Makeup by Nikki La Rose collaborated with BK Beauty again to come out with another brush set, and I mean, home run, as was the first one. You guys know I'm very biased when it comes to BK Beauty brushes. I am a huge stan of BK Beauty brushes. I think the quality is there. I think the shapes that they come out with are perfect. I don't think any of the brushes are too big for my like smaller face, you know? But Nikki came out with a bunch of different shapes here. I think it's really helpful for brush launches to understand what the brushes are kind of made for and the recommendations on how to use them. And Nikki did a whole breakdown, so I'll link that down below for you guys. But I have been loving these brushes. I have really been loving the complexion brushes. Those are so good. I can't get enough. And I would recommend that if you have your eyes on this brush set, to make sure that you grab this when they relaunch it in mid-October, because I believe that this sold out in like 6 hours or something like that, and they had enough stock for like weeks. Not a day goes by when I do my makeup that I don't reach for a BK Beauty brush, but I've never had like the ferrules come off. I've never had it come off of the handle. They are so well made. They do not shed whatsoever. I've never had an issue with that. They're just some of the best. I can't recommend BK Beauty enough. All right, guys, those are all my thoughts on some brand new makeup releases. I know that it was a lot. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for sticking around and sticking through it with me. Let me know your thoughts on any of these products. If you have used any of them, please let us know what your experiences have been with them. As always, you guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. I will be leaving a video right here in case you guys are interested in hanging out with me a little bit more, just based on what you guys have been watching recently. But until next time, you guys, I will see you very soon. Take care. Bye.